what about this dark web impacting India now?
डार्क वेब ऐसा सेक्शन है इंटरनेट का जहाँ पे 97% ऑफ द इंटरनेट इज डार्क वेब. ओनली 3% ऑफ द इंटरनेट इज आवर नॉर्मल इंटरनेट जो हम चलाते हैं. राइट फ्रॉम एक्सटॉर्शन टू फाइंडिंग फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन टू क्रेडिट कार्ड डिटेल्स टू ordering drugs online to human trafficking, you name the crime and it is available on dark web. But obviously जितना आप शहद डालोगे उतना मीठा होगा. So WhatsApp essentially what they do is they offer very strong encryption mechanism and it's not possible to decrypt any WhatsApp chat except for government agencies.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Parvinder Connection podcast. Today we have a very interesting guest from Cybersecurity and Technologies, Mr. Akshay Garkel. This is a very important subject concerning these days and we are very happy to have him with us in our studio. Hi Akshay, how are you?
Hi Parvinder, good to see you again.
Yeah, same here. It's been a long while actually.
Absolutely.
You are a very, very busy man it seems like.
Well, I always try to catch up and always try to beat to my commitment, but I'm really sorry, it's been a little while that we met up, but it's so good to see you again.
Correct. Tell me something, Akshay, this cyber security, okay, it's to me, it's basically a gray matter, right? And also hacking, cyber security and, technology, it's a very vast subject, but I think somewhere you are at the right place at the right time.
Well, I would just, thank the Almighty for being there and at least, at least been able to serve my fraternity, serve the business, outreach, and of course the end citizens in whatever little capacity that I can. Cybersecurity, as we all know, right? Earlier times, Parminder, what used to happen was, we used to have people who used to kind of keep their jewels in their house and lockers. Then they started moving to the banks, going to the branch and accessing their money, accessing, their jewelry and other, belongings. After that, everything started going online, right? Now, if you look at the way theft used to happen in earlier times, right? There used to be dacoits coming home, thieves coming home and robbing. Then, of course, there were similar incidents in branches of banks. And now, of course, everything going online. The same activity is happening, but it's going online, right?
So with technology, the theft also changes its course.
Absolutely, getting more and more sophisticated.
But tell me something, why cybersecurity? How did you come into this line? There'll be so many avenues, but why did you select this? What was the motivation or what was in your mind that you...
Right. So, Parvinder, it's been almost 2.5 decades doing whatever I've been doing. I don't consider myself as expert. I consider myself as a student. And I always want to be a student and learn and absorb and, whatever best I can. And as I said, whatever I can deliver back to our community at large. So 2.5 decades earlier, I was as confused as any other student. And now, of course, today's generation Z++ is, they're very clear what they want. But hamare time pe to it used to be like, kya karna hai, kaise karna hai, which field should I get? टेक्नोलॉजी का शौक हमेशा था, राइट? सो माई फादर ऑलवेज एनकरेज मी कि बेटा टीवी मैकेनिक आया घर पे, खोल रहा है, देख लो, आस्क क्वेश्चंस, आस्क, बी इंक्विजिटिव. दैट काइंड ऑफ helped me increase my appetite to learn about technology. And that's when my decision was obviously to say that okay, I want to do my engineering. तो engineering तो कर ली, computer science में करते करते always cleared my subjects, but was never a very bright student in terms of getting marks, but continued to be inquisitive. So I always had that exception way of जो हमारे boring theorems होते थे वो रट्टा मार के जाते थे, but जहाँ पे computer coding होती थी या something which gives a tangible outcome, उस पे मज़ा आता था, तो वो हम एक्स्ट्रा कर लेते थे. तो ऐसे करते करते वो appetite बढ़ता गया. And then of course when I graduated and I decided अब करना क्या है, so ethical hacking and hacking was the term that was very new in the market. So I said, again out of inquisitiveness, चलो कर लेते हैं, hack करना. तब तो internet भी नहीं था, right? There wasn't any internet then, way back in 99 I'm talking. So slowly, gradually started applying whatever I had learned in engineering, worked my way up, worked in various companies, did a lot of hands-on, weathered a lot of storms with the data centers. I actually climbed, a lot of towers to install wireless equipments. So I lighted up one of the prefectures called Marugame in Japan. I lighted up, point-to-point link in one of the Indonesian rainforests. I did Jharkhand statewide area network, Kerala statewide area network. I lighted up a barge to the ship point in Middle East in Dubai.
Wow.
I did a few point-to-point links in Luxembourg. So that kind of taught me a lot. फिर उसके बाद India आ गया. And once I came back to India, I was in Australia for quite some time. And India आया तो फिर, I said अब काफ़ी रगड़म पट्टी हो गई, let's, also see what best I can do. But then there too, spent a lot of sleepless nights in data centers. For large banks, next day the market has to go up and, few of the security equipments are not working in the data center, right? And imagine the kind of pressure that would be there. And of course, there are regulators watching over like big daddies on those banks. So we did all of that, had my fair share of, hard work, I would say, per se. And then moved into consulting. I spent almost 7 to 8 years with a large professional services firm. And then essentially been in consulting since ever then. And we've been serving, large organizations, large corporates, helping them on their journey to cybersecurity. And we know it's a journey, it's not a destination. So it's continuous, right? So we are assisting a lot of businesses there, working with law enforcement agencies today, helping them in terms of looking at the cybersecurity pieces. Working with public sector banks, working with public sector entities. Fintech is the new mantra. Your entire mullahs or the payment जिसको कहते हैं. So helping fintechs to secure their environment so that if they are secure, then at the end of the day their customers are secure, and the customers feel secure. Then they feel that the establishment of trust between the fintechs and the customers, and hence the brand reputation of the fintechs, right? So in my very little capacity, whatever I can do is what I'm doing at this point in time.
So while we were speaking, you mentioned about something known as ethical hacking. I always know that there is a hacker. What is the word ethical hacking?
So आपने ये देखा होगा, let me draw some parallels, right? आपने देखा होगा कि war gaming exercise होती है between 2 or 3 countries. वो करते क्या हैं कि वो actually simulate करते हैं attacks with each other, just to say, and then they've gone to the Southeast Asia Sea. वहाँ पे उन्होंने ऑस्ट्रेलिया, साउथ कोरिया, जापान, इंडिया उन्होंने मिलके किया, राइट. सो वैसे ही एथिकल हैकिंग का मतलब ये होता है कि आप यू आर रनिंग सम सिमुलेशंस इन योर एनवायरनमेंट और आप एक्चुअली हैक करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, एंड यू वांट टू सी कि आप कितना पोरस हो.
अच्छा, कितना डैमेज कर सकते हो.
फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने फायर ड्रिल सुना होगा. बड़ी बिल्डिंग्स होती हैं, वहाँ पे आग लगने की वेट नहीं करते, तब जाके इवैक्यूएशन नहीं होता है. यू एक्चुअली सिमुलेट द ड्रिल्स.
करेक्ट.
अब जहाँ सिमुलेट कर रहे हो, सिमुलेट करते करते आप देखना चाहते हो कि कहाँ कहाँ प्रोसेस में गैप्स हैं. क्या लोग फास्ट मूव हो रहे हैं, क्या लोग सुन रहे हैं, क्या कोई ऐसे एंट्री एग्जिट पॉइंट्स है बिल्डिंग में जो चोक हो सकता है, उसके वजह से आग की वजह से बढ़ सकती है. मटेरियल ऑफ द बिल्डिंग, आर दे combustible टू द फायर और नॉट. इज द विकेट एरिया जिसको कहते हैं या ओपन एरिया है, इज दैट गुड इनफ टू अकोमोडेट ऑल द पीपल और नॉट. ये सारी चीज़ें होती हैं. तो एथिकल हैकिंग में भी यही होता है कि कंपनीज एक्चुअली हैकिंग सिमुलेशंस करती हैं एंड देखती है कि कहाँ कहाँ उनके एनवायरनमेंट में गैप है. और एथिकल इसीलिए बोला जाता है क्योंकि इसमें कोई गलत काम नहीं करना चाहिए. यानी कि हम कोई सर्वर को डाउन नहीं करेंगे, हम कोई एप्लीकेशन को डाउन नहीं करेंगे, हम किसी के मशीन में जाके डेटा नहीं चुराएंगे, हम किसी के यहाँ मशीन में जाके या मोबाइल पे वायरस नहीं डालेंगे, हम मॉनिटर नहीं करेंगे. ये सारी चीज़ें नहीं करेंगे इन अनएथिकल वे. इसलिए उसको एथिकल हैकिंग कहा जाता है.
Brilliant word, huh? So technically right now where you are, how many people report to you?
So, I'll put it this way, right? We are less of a pyramid and more of a constellation.
Okay.
And when I say constellation, as and when you grow more experienced in your field, you start getting in the center, right?
Okay.
And center mein you create a positive influence on others. That's the way we look at it. And today's time, Parminder, is not about competition, it's about collaboration.
Correct.
जितना आप collaborate करोगे उतना आप भी grow होगे, सामने वाला भी grow होगा.
Correct.
So from that perspective, how are you able to create a positive shadow, right? I would say I have 350 colleagues rather than saying 350 people reporting in, right?
Okay.
And then how do you create the future cybersecurity soldiers of tomorrow? That is very important. So all of those points, I would put it up that way.
So basically, considering the cyber security attacks that are happening, how well is India safe according to you?
From an India standpoint, I would put the safety perspective into 3 large categories. First category is your India INC, the business community and the organizations which contribute to various fields and various sectors from an economy standpoint.
Indian businessmen.
Indian businesses. Second is, the government, right? Right from defense to home to external affairs to finance. These are some of the core ministries. And then, of course, the other ministries like agriculture and technology and IT and so on and so forth. IT also, I would kind of put it into the core ministry. Third is the end citizens, right? Which is very important again. So now let's look at how safe are we, right? That's again a term which is left to interpretation. But I would say, what are the initiatives that the Indian government has taken today? Tremendous. I think, if you look at the rate at which cyber attacks are growing, reports suggest that in India cyber attacks have grown at 37% year on year.
Oh, that high.
Very high, right? And of course you will read a lot of reports, अलग-अलग statistics हैं, अलग-अलग सेक्टर्स में क्या हुआ है, किस टाइप की चोरियां हुई है, किस टाइप का साइबर इश्यूज हुए हैं, किस टाइप के साइबर क्राइम्स हुए हैं, वो सारे रिपोर्ट्स में आपको बहुत सारे मिल जाएंगे. But what is really important is what are the initiatives that have been taken to make sure that you curb the cyber attacks and then at the same time उसको minimize करते जाइए and the probability of occurrence has to go down. So obviously multilateral treaties have been signed with multiple countries today from a cyber consideration standpoint. For example, अगर jurisdiction की problem आती है and कोई cyber criminal out of country borders है, so if we have a treaty with that country, can we nab the cyber criminal to the T at his location with the cooperation between those two countries? So वो एक initiative है. Second है, there have been so many bodies which have been formed. You would have heard of Computer Emergency Response Team of India under Ministry of Electronics and IT.
Correct.
Likewise, बहुत सारे ऐसे initiatives हैं अलग अलग level पे जहाँ पे government ने लिया हुआ है. In fact, I can tell you in future, you can easily anticipate a 20 to 30% of, in a state of war, 20 to 30% will be a cyber war. And we've seen that in a lot of wars because Israel का example ले लीजिए, आप Ukraine का example ले लीजिए, cyber wars are at the forefront.
100%. You see the tanks are getting blown up with smaller drones. The tank would be maybe 1,000 times more expensive than that drone, but that small drone is breaking tanks because of this. It's being flown by these gadgets and all.
And that is where the cyber defense techniques like drone anonymization is coming into play. And उसमें होता क्या है कि अगर ड्रोन में पेलोड है, आप उसको उड़ा नहीं सकते हो, because उड़ा दोगे तो वो पेलोड can cause catastrophe to.
It can fall in the same place also.
So आप anonymize कर देते हो, आप उसकी frequency jam कर देते हो और ड्रोन को नीचे उतार देते हो. That's another cyber technique, right? Likewise, there are so many other such techniques that can be applied and which government is
तो आप कह रहे हैं Indian government is doing a brilliant role in this.
Absolutely. Obviously, there is always a long way to go, and that's not only for us but most of the mature countries as well. We hopefully should be the third largest economy by 27-28.
Correct. God willing.
Depending on how Japan progresses. If Japan essentially does something, then probably 27 से नहीं तो 28 तक हम third largest economy हो जाएंगे. So from that perspective, cyber maturity is very important. And though obviously there are some necessities like food, clothing, shelter, employment, there are perennial issues which will continue to be treated, but cyber safety is going to be another very important aspect.
No, but tell me something. Now you said India is doing a lot. So if you compare with China and Russia and America, mainly, which are a little ahead of us maybe, at what level are we against them? Like, are we really behind or?
So I wouldn't agree that we are China is ahead of us or Russia is ahead of us because see, there are like cyber is an ocean. There are so many other aspects, Parvinder, in from a cyber perspective, where countries are taking different initiatives.
Okay.
एक है मैंने जैसे बताया एंड सिटीजन सेफ्टी, एक है बिजनेस INC सेफ्टी, एक है डिफेंस एंड बॉर्डर सेफ्टी. ये सारी चीज़ें हैं. एंड देर आर सो मेनी आउटफिट्स विच आर देयर इन चाइना, देर आर देयर इन रशिया, विच आर ऑल्सो देयर इन इंडिया टू डिफेंड देयर कंट्री अक्रॉस ऑल ऑफ दीज, राइट. पाकिस्तान ने आंध्र प्रदेश का वाटर डिपार्टमेंट का वेबसाइट को डिफेस कर दिया, या चाइना ने एक आध वेब पेज पे कुछ और इम्पोज कर दिया. वो सारा पासे, those are all old techniques.
Okay.
Right? The new techniques are data, snooping of data and understanding and profiling of people, right? That is something that every country should be worried about.
Okay.
आज Parvinder show में Akshay Garkel is chatting with Parvinder. Does somebody in China know about it?
Is what is the key.
Is the key, right? So as an example.
So tell me something, there are these cyber attacks, right? Whether it is government related or individual related, what motivates these people to do these attacks?
Various things, right? एक तो आपने you would have heard of the term called hacktivism.
Hacktivism, yes.
हमने साइट को डाउन करना है, हमने कोई गवर्नमेंट फंक्शन को इम्पैक्ट करना है, हमने इसको देखना है कि भाई या हम पॉलिटिकली कैसे उसको ड्राइव कर सके. अगर कोई पॉलिटिकल वेव चल रही है कंट्री में तो हम उसको नेगेटिव इन्फ्लुएंस कैसे कर सकें, राइट. दोज आर द पॉइंट्स विच इज वन key factor. Second is of course financial gains. How can we actually steal a lot of information, and after I steal information I hold you to ransom and say that listen, as an organization आपके 1 billion records मेरे पास हैं और आपने 1 billion में से एटलीस्ट 20% तो अग्रीमेंट साइन किए होंगे विद थर्ड पार्टी ऑन डेटा कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी, और ब्रीच ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी विल लीड टू various implications which could be a financial implication as well, brand reputation. तो उस point of view से भी होता है. Competitive espionage is another trigger. You are my competition and
I have to get you weak.
है ना. हाँ, तो फिर वो brand reputation कैसे ख़राब करें आपका, आपके शेयर प्राइसेस कैसे गिराएं एंड सेंटिमेंट्स कैसे नेगेटिव करें.
So even companies involved in this?
See, again, nothing has been proven, right? But yes, there have been speculations, that why some hacking attempts happen only at a specific period of time when you are announcing an IPO, for example, or you're basically, there is a change in management and leadership, right? And then, of course, there is a regulated entity which is governed by some sort of a regulator and so on and so forth. These are some of the triggers when the spikes are observed. तो आप एक ट्रेंड एनालिसिस देखेंगे तो उस टाइम पे आपको ये अनुमान होना शुरू हो जाएगा कि yes, there could be some conspiracy theory behind it.
So in India today we are using UPI, Google Pay, Paytm in an extensive way. Okay, and suddenly we are seeing spikes of these hackers attacking UPI and these payment apps. So how does an individual in India, now you mentioned about individuals, how do they safeguard themselves? What is the easiest way for them to do that?
So Parvinder, I'll start with this.
Yeah.
आपका मोबाइल है, आपने कपड़े पहने हुए हैं. My apologies, pardon my German, but obviously you're not going to share the color of your undergarment with anybody.
Correct. कोई बताता नहीं है ऐसा.
Likewise, मोबाइल के डिटेल्स ना शेयर करें. That's the first common denominator that I would basically start. फिर उसके बाद OTP आता है, OTP अगर आपने नहीं मांगा है, आपने इनिशिएट नहीं किया और आपके पास OTP आ रहा है, तो प्लीज़ रेज दोज आईब्रोज कि ये किस चीज़ का OTP है, क्यों है और किस लिए, बी कॉन्शियस। नंबर 3, अगर आप इंटरनेट बैंकिंग कर रहे हैं आपके मोबाइल से या आपके पासवर्ड्स सेव्ड हैं आपके मोबाइल पे, तो कृपया करके आप उसको डिलीट कर दीजिए, पासवर्ड्स को निकाल दीजिए मोबाइल से। आप पासवर्ड कहीं और सेव करना चाहें अगर आप नहीं रिमेंबर कर सके। अगर आप रिमेंबर करते हैं तो वेरी गुड। आजकल इंटरनेट बैंकिंग एप्लीकेशंस इतने ब्यूटीफुल आ गए हैं, इतने सफिस्टिकेटेड हो गए हैं कि जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आप कॉफ़ी शॉप पे बैठे हो और आप टाइप कर रहे हो, पीछे कैमरा है, तो वो टाइप करते करते हैकर कैन टेक दैट फीड एंड रीड। यस, तो अब बैंकिंग एप्लीकेशंस एक लेवल आगे चले गए हैं। अब उन्होंने फेस आईडीज़ रख दिया है, तो आप मोबाइल फॉर एग्जांपल HDFC का बैंकिंग एप्लीकेशन मोबाइल पे खोलते हो, आपको बस फेस आगे रखना है, वो आपका फेस रीड करके आपको ऑथेंटिकेट करके अंदर चला जाएगा। अब हैकर देख भी रहा है कैमरा के थ्रू, तो क्या कर लेगा?
But tell me one thing, like for example, there are people who don't have face recognition. Are they in a problem?
They will have thumbprint. Android supports
None of the two then?
Ideally, we would encourage कि भाई एटलीस्ट 2-factor authentication रहना चाहिए। 2-factor का मतलब यह है कि सिर्फ पासवर्ड नहीं, कुछ और भी साथ में। सो या तो फेस हो गया, या थंबप्रिंट हो गया, एंड पासवर्ड हो गया, या सिर्फ बायोमेट्रिक करना है। तो बायोमेट्रिक इज समथिंग दैट you have. Password is something that you know, right? So बायोमेट्रिक आपसे कोई छीन नहीं सकता। आपका रेटिना हो गया, या आपका फेस हो गया, या आपका थंबप्रिंट हो गया। पासवर्ड यस छीन सकते हैं, राइट?
So what I am trying to say this, why I'm asking is, I only have a password, and every time जब भी prompt होता है कि फेस रिकग्निशन चालू करना है, मैं उसको लेता नहीं हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे ऐसे लगता है नहीं मैं पासवर्ड भूल जाऊँगा। ठीक है, बट आई थिंक आज जो आपने मुझे बोला है ये एक्चुअली मैं गलत कर रहा हूँ, बिकॉज मुझे या तो बायोमेट्रिक या फेस रिकग्निशन में जाना ही चाहिए। सो दिस इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट। सो ऑल दोज पीपल हु आर जस्ट हैविंग पासवर्ड should really think about this.
Yes, and in fact मैं थोड़ा सा आपके क्वेश्चन पे थोड़ा सा dwell करना चाहूँगा on the internet banking, because I think there are 2-3 important points that viewers should understand.
हाँ, जानना चाहिए।
For example, you take an average middle class citizen. There are, say, I have my savings. My savings are kept in one account. Please don't do that. You please spread it across 2 or 3 accounts. Number 1. Number 2, जहाँ पे आपका मेजर चंक है वहाँ पे आप प्लीज़ डिजिटल एनेबल ना करें।
डिजिटल एनेबल
ना करें, मतलब थर्ड पार्टी ट्रांसफर्स वगैरह ना एनेबल करें। एंड टुडे यू कैन नॉट एनेबल लार्जली थर्ड पार्टी ट्रांसफर्स थ्रू ऑनलाइन। यू हैव टू सेंड द एप्लीकेशन टू द बैंक। यू कैन अप्लाई ऑनलाइन।
व्हाट इज अ थर्ड पार्टी ट्रांसफर? कैन यू
थर्ड पार्टी ट्रांसफर यानी कि
मतलब मैं आपको पेमेंट कर रहा हूँ
जी,
दैट इज एनेबल नहीं करूँ।
सो आई एम अ थर्ड पार्टी टू यू।
ओके, सो
थर्ड पार्टी सिर्फ एक अकाउंट में रखिए और वो अकाउंट को का सेविंग्स लीन रखिए। तो क्या होता है कि आपका जो एक्सपोजर है वो मिनिमाइज्ड है।
करेक्ट।
एंड सेकेंडली, अगर कोई वर्स्ट के सिनेरियो में हैक भी कर लिया आपका अकाउंट आपके मोबाइल के थ्रू जाके, मोबाइल चोरी हो गया फॉर एग्जांपल, और OTP आ गया और एक्सेस भी मिल गया उसको, तो क्या ही कर लेगा? एक्सपोजर विल बी लिमिटेड, उतना ही अमाउंट ले जाएगा। करेक्ट। सेकेंड थर्ड अकाउंट जहाँ पे आपके चंक्स पड़े हैं वहाँ पे यू डोंट नीड टू एनेबल। और जब आप किसी को RTGS, NEFT, NACH करना है,
उसी बैंक से करिए।
बैंक को रिक्वेस्ट कीजिए। आजकल हर एक बैंक एक रिलेशनशिप मैनेजर देता है।
बैंक को रिक्वेस्ट मतलब फिजिकल RTGS करना
नहीं? हाँ, सो यू रिक्वेस्ट द बैंक।
Is that better?
Yes, you just give a self check to them and then they will help you with the RTGS.
I do that, but now there is another question which I'm having. Every person has excess money lying in their account. You know, sometimes somebody will have an X amount, Y amount or Z amount. So what I usually do is whatever is the excess amount, I make an account link FD to it. ठीक है, तो उससे क्या हो जाता है कि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब तक मेरे अकाउंट में पैसा नहीं है और FD में है तो वो एक और लेवल ऑफ सिक्योरिटी आ जाती है। इज इट राइट टू डू दैट?
देयर इज नो हार्म, right? At the end of the day, there is an inflation happening in our country. Every country has an inflation, and you have to put your money to grow.
Not to grow. Is there a level of safety? एक तो अकाउंट में रहना एक लेयर है, FD में रहना एक लेयर होता है। Although it is linked to account, but does it give safety?
Again, if somebody accesses your account, they can always liquidate your FDs through the request of that account. The only thing is there'll be one additional layer of authentication, again through a OTP.
OTP, yes.
Now, OTP on SMS, OTP on email is a question, right?
Correct.
But that's another layer. वो हो गया, लिक्विडेट कर दिया, पैसा ट्रांसफर कर दिया बाहर,
तो इतना कुछ बड़ा फर्क नहीं पड़ता उससे.
नहीं पड़ता.
My God, this is really something to think about, huh?
So इसीलिए it's important, that we should keep that chunk in a different account which is fairly, primitive.
So what I do, I have two accounts. The place from where I use my Google Pay, that account doesn't have more than 10,000 ever. And the account which is having the other part of money, which is a little higher, that account has the major money.
Correct.
So whenever Google Pay tells me account balance is less, I transfer another 10,000 here. Perfect. So what happens is this account is always, ये account में 10,000 से ज़्यादा नहीं होता है. तो जब मुझे पासवर्ड भी यूज़ करना है तो कोई देख भी ले तो उसका ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा.
Exactly.
तो यही आप बोलना चाह रहे हो.
मैं यही बोलना चाह रहा हूँ. And I think this message, if your viewers can actually adopt, trust me, they will bless me, and I always count my blessings.
Can you, if you don't mind, can you say this in Hindi, the whole thing, because your idea, I want them to know this.
बिल्कुल. सो मेरा बोलना ये है कि
UPI कनेक्टेड जैसे हमने बोला,
आपके मोबाइल पे इंटरनेट बैंकिंग का एप्लीकेशन है और फर्ज कीजिए आपका मोबाइल चोरी हो जाता है, तो हैकर आपके इंटरनेट बैंकिंग एप्लीकेशन पे जा सकता है, क्योंकि आपने पासवर्ड भी एक नोटपैड पे सेव किए हुए मोबाइल पे, और वो OTP आता है, तो OTP वन टाइम पासवर्ड जो आपके SMS पे आता है वो भी आपके मोबाइल पे आ गया, तो दोनों मोबाइल पे आ गया, हैकर अंदर चला गया, पैसे निकाल सकता है. तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि अगर आपके सेविंग्स हैं, मैक्सिमम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सेविंग्स अगर हैं, तो वो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सेविंग्स ऐसे अकाउंट में रखिए जहाँ इंटरनेट बैंकिंग ना हो, या अगर इंटरनेट बैंकिंग हो तो आपके मोबाइल पे ना हो. उसको आप अलग से मशीन पे रखिए, अपने घर के कंप्यूटर पे रखिए, जो बाहर नहीं जा सके, कंप्यूटर चोरी होने के चांसेस कम है उसके. और फिर उसके बाद आपने करना क्या है, आपने उन दोनों अकाउंट में जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा पैसा रखा हुआ है आपने, उन पे आप कोई भी डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन एनेबल ना करें.
ठीक है.
थर्ड पार्टी यानी कि आप जैसे अक्षय परविंदर को ना ट्रांसफ़र कर सके या परविंदर अक्षय को ना ट्रांसफ़र कर सके.
जो भी करना है वो फिजिकल चेक के थ्रू करें. और फिर उसके बाद जहाँ पे आपको UPI की सुविधा लेनी है, क्योंकि UPI बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग प्रोडक्ट है और वर्ल्ड में इंडिया इज़ द फर्स्ट इनिशिएटर ऑफ UPI. करेक्ट.
तो उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सुविधा ज़रूर लेनी चाहिए, क्योंकि हम आजकल तो हम किनारे की दुकान पे जाते हैं तो UPI चल जाता है.
करेक्ट.
मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल बताऊंगा, मेरा UPI की स्टोरी, आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर दैट विथ यू. तो वो सारा कुछ वो करें और फिर उसके बाद जहाँ पे आप UPI यूज़ कर रहे हैं वहाँ पे आप मिनिमम बैलेंस रखिए उस अकाउंट में. अगर आपके पैसे वहाँ ख़त्म हो रहे तो बड़े अकाउंट से लेके थोड़ी मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी.
करेक्ट.
लेकिन अल्टीमेटली हमारा पैसा है.
करेक्ट.
तो पैसा सेव करना है, उसको सिक्योर करना है, तो वो मेहनत जायज़ है और लाजमी है.
सो आई थिंक 2 टेक अवे थे ये डिस्कशन के, कि एक तो फेस रिकग्निशन जहाँ हो सकता है कर लो, जो हमको अवॉइड नहीं करना चाहिए, और सेकंड ये है कि जो डिजिटल बैंकिंग जहाँ कर रहे हो वहाँ पे मिनिमम बैलेंस रखिए, एंड लेट्स गो टू द ओल्ड मेथड्स ऑफ बैंकिंग वेयर मेजर मनी इज केप्ट.
जी,
यही बात है. सो व्हाट अबाउट दिस डार्क वेब इम्पैक्टिंग इंडिया नाउ? हाउ डू यू सी दैट एंड हाउ गियर्ड अप आर वी? हमारी कंट्री कितनी गियर्ड अप है इसके लिए?
सो देखिए, पहले तो मैं आपको डार्क वेब क्या है वो समझा देता हूँ. तो डार्क वेब ऐसा सेक्शन है इंटरनेट का जहाँ पे 97% ऑफ द इंटरनेट इज़ डार्क वेब. ओनली 3% ऑफ द इंटरनेट इज़ आवर नॉर्मल इंटरनेट जो हम चलाते हैं,
जो हम देख रहे हैं,
और हमें लगता है कि इंटरनेट इज़ एन ओशन.
करेक्ट.
वो सिर्फ 3% है. डार्क वेब इज़ 97%.
ओह माय गॉड,
इट इज़ सो डीप. अच्छा, वहाँ पे डार्क वेब की शुरुआत हुई थी जबकि जितने भी इलिसिट एक्टिविटीज़ करने थे वहाँ पे इंग्लिश में आप जैसे ब्राउज़र पे जाके www.google.com टाइप करते हैं, डार्क नेट पे आप ये नहीं टाइप करते हैं. उसके सब नंबर्स होते हैं, न्यूमेरिक्स होते हैं, अलग अलग ब्राउज़र होता है. ये नॉर्मल ब्राउज़र चलता भी नहीं है. टॉर करके एक ब्राउज़र आता है, तो वो इंस्टॉल करना पड़ता है. मेरा सबसे पहला रिकमेंडेशन रहेगा, जिन्हें डार्क वेब यूज़ नहीं करने आता वो कृपया करके डार्क वेब में ना जाए, क्योंकि डार्क वेब इज़ रियली डार्क. राइट फ्रॉम extortion to finding financial information to credit card details to ordering drugs online to human trafficking, you name the crime and it is available on dark web. And वो ऐसे नहीं होता है आपको चैनल्स होते हैं डार्क वेब में, आपको ज्वाइन करने पड़ते हैं, और वो ज्वाइन करने के बाद आप जो है मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ ड्रग पेडलर का। तो ड्रग पेडलर अमेज़ॉन में बुक होस्ट करता है।
करेक्ट।
आपको कहेगा कि आप जाइए और ये बुक ले लीजिए। आप बुक लेंगे, आके उस पर रिव्यू पे लिखा होगा प्लीज़ रीड पेज नंबर 9, इट इज़ रियली इंटरेस्टिंग, इट इज़ माई पर्सनल फेवरेट पेज। वो आप बुक आ जाएगी घर पे, आप ऑर्डर कर लेंगे और पेज 9 पे ड्रग्स विल बी पेस्टेड, 10 पे भी ड्रग्स विल बी पेस्टेड। सो फिर देन यू टेयर दैट पेज एंड सो इस टाइप का कम्युनिकेशन जो मैं अभी आपको बता रहा हूँ, इस टाइप का डिक्रिप्शन ऑफ द कम्युनिकेशन इज अवेलेबल ऑन डार्क वेब। इफ यू वांट टू, देयर आर वेरी इलिसिट एक्टिविटीज, मतलब आई डोंट वांट टू इलैबोरेट ऑन दिस चैनल बिकॉज देयर आर सो मेनी व्यूअर्स एंड उपयोग से ज़्यादा दुरुपयोग हो सकता है। सो आई वुड रिस्ट्रिक्ट माई सेल्फ फ्रॉम।
मुझे बताइए, ये अभी व्हाट्सएप बड़े बड़े एड्स करता है, एनक्रिप्टेड, एंड टू एंड एनक्रिप्टेड। व्हाट इज एनक्रिप्टेड, एंड टू एंड एनक्रिप्टेड, एंड वेदर इट इज़ रियली, हमको ये समझ में आ रहा है भाई हमारे मैसेजेस कोई नहीं पढ़ सकता है, तो इज इट? एंड पास्ट में ऐसा भी था कि मार्क जुकरबर्ग को बहुत बार बुलाया गया कि यू आर शेयरिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन, आई डोंट नो, दिस इज जस्ट दैट ओवरहर्ड, बट आई डोंट नो दिस, बट डू यू थिंक दिस एनक्रिप्टेड एंड टू एंड nobody can read, is it really possible?
हाँ, सो देखिए एनक्रिप्शन में होता क्या है, मैं सिंपल इंग्लिश में समझा देता हूँ। एनक्रिप्शन में ये होता है कि जहाँ आप डेटा जैसे ट्रांसफ़र करते हो, तो डेटा जो है वो क्लियर टेक्स्ट में नहीं जाता है, इट गोज इन डिफरेंट स्ट्रिंग ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स जो कि आप पढ़ नहीं सको, उसको एनक्रिप्शन बोला जाता है। और बहुत बारी क्या होता है कि जैसे मैंने आपको मेरे कंप्यूटर से आपके कंप्यूटर पे भेजा, तो अल्टीमेटली होता क्या है कि वो ज़ीरोज़ एंड वंस जो होते हैं और सिग्नल्स होते हैं बेसिकली वायर के थ्रू, वो जाता है। वो फिर मेरा इंग्लिश लाइक वर्ड्स गेट कन्वर्टेड टू ज़ीरोज़ वंस गेट कन्वर्टेड टू सिग्नल्स आर ट्रांसफर्ड टू योर कंप्यूटर then understands the signals, converts that to zeros and ones, then zeros and ones goes to different layers and then finally वो इंग्लिश में आ जाता है आपके पास। अब कोई हैकर होगा बीच में, वो इंट्रूड करेगा और उसको हम कहते हैं मैन इन द मिडल अटैक। मैन इन द मिडल राइट। तो मैन इन द मिडल यानी कि वो जाएगा एंड चाहे आपके पास से कॉपी पहुंच गया लेकिन उनके पास भी कॉपी चला गया, उन्होंने स्नूप कर लिया,
ठीक है,
पढ़ लिया डेटा। अब एनक्रिप्शन का मतलब यह है कि अगर वो एनक्रिप्टेड है यानी कि वो हिडन है, वो अलग अलग कैरेक्टर्स में है, जो इंग्लिश लाइक में ही नहीं है, तो वो स्ट्रिंग ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स तो उठा लेगा, लेकिन उसको पढ़ने के लिए कि अक्षय ने परविंदर को क्या लिखा है उनको डिक्रिप्ट करना पड़ेगा।
बट कैन अ हैकर डू दैट?
हाँ, सो नाउ अलग अलग एनक्रिप्शन टेक्निक्स हैं, अलग अलग एनक्रिप्शन के एल्गोरिथम्स हैं, और उसमें अलग अलग बिट्स यानी कि कितनी बार हमने इसको एनक्रिप्ट किया हुआ है। सो द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट एल्गोरिथम इज AES which so far has not been cracked. But obviously जितना आप शहद डालोगे उतना मीठा होगा, right? So that means that it's not only security but it's also cost to security. So it has to be a balance between security and cost, right? तो उस point of view से लोग अलग अलग एनक्रिप्शन टेक्निक्स अप्लाई करते हैं। जो हैकर स्मार्ट होते हैं वो उसको डिक्रिप्ट कर लेते हैं, बट अगर आप हाईएस्ट एल्गोरिथम पे जाओगे तो फिर वो अभी तक
So does WhatsApp use that highest algorithm?
Yes, so WhatsApp essentially what they do is they offer very strong encryption mechanism and it's not possible to decrypt any WhatsApp chat except for government agencies.
So they can do that.
And the government essentially has the key to decrypt your messages, right?
So does the Indian government also have the key?
Indian government, I'm talking about Indian government.
Okay.
Yes, of course. Absolutely, sir. Yes.
Now, I've also come across that, all these hospitals and healthcare, they have also become a very big target for these cyber crimes. Why is it that they are targeting hospitals and healthcare?
So, पहले क्या होता था? A cyber crime used to impact our financial position, our brand, our reputation, our data, for example. Now, cyber crimes have started impacting our lives. For example, there's a hospital in UK where they used to use robotic arms for surgery. They're using robotic arms for surgery. Now those systems were hacked. And because of that, a critical surgery was averted by 24 hours.
Oh my God.
Now imagine if it's a critical and urgent surgery, and now you have to basically avert that. It started impacting lives. Second example of impacting lives is, where you would have heard of something called as a digital rape. Have you heard of digital rape?
No, I've not. I'm hearing these terms for the first time.
So digital rape is again a case in UK where in metaverse, a teenager was sexually molested virtually. But the kind of social pain that she went through, the kind of social stigma that she went through in her group of friends, plus at the same time her psychology balance also was shaken. So now there is a law which has been amended by the parliament in UK that any digital rape, once proven guilty, will be treated as a normal rape.
Ooh.
And all the sections of a normal rape will be applied to digital rape as well.
There's no touch, right? So how can it be called a rape as such?
Because rape ka meaning kya hai? I mean, I'm not a lawyer,
Correct.
so please pardon my ignorance if I missed out on something. But my understanding of rape is not only a physical violation of whatever happens, but it's also a mental violation. It's also a social violation. It's also a stigma in the society, which obviously, we all see, right? Obviously, the victim shouldn't be a stigma on the victim. I believe it should be a stigma on the rapist. That's my personal view. But unfortunately, we've come a long way, but we've seen all of those aspects. So, ये दो चीजें हैं. As two examples, Parvinder, that I can say how cyber is really impacting lives now. Not way of life, but lives, actual lives.
This is quite interesting, huh? Digital rape is like, I've never heard something like this. I'm feeling as if I'm missing out on too many new things actually. So now we've talked about, defense, how we are gearing up, hospitals and healthcare is being touched upon. So this means that there are multiple types of cyber attacks.
Yes.
And do they have names? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, see, there are different cyber attacks, right? You have a cyberbullying, cyber sextortion, then, ransomware attacks, right? Then there are other, cyber attacks like phishing attack. You would have heard of something called as deepfakes. So deepfakes is nothing but, somebody really, video किसी का है, that person is talking,
correct.
but पीछे voice over डाला हुआ है, and it is so well done and so sophisticated, and I'm sure your production team will resonate to it, that पता नहीं चलता है. For example, if Parvinder is talking with a lip movement, but it's not Parvinder, and the objective of doing this is because they want a different message coming from Parvinder rather than the actual message. And this happens abhi, if you see deepfakes का election के time पे काफी propaganda हुआ था, and दोनों parties ने एक दूसरे को ये कहा था कि allegation डाला था.
There was a case registered by the Home Ministry
that we didn't say it was a deepfake.
Correct.
Right? So those are the kind of attacks. Just to give you an example. In fact, मैं आपको एक example देता हूँ on one of the cases that I was involved in. So I got a call from one of my friend saying that one of my very close friend daughter, both mother-daughter, are very upset. One of their accounts have been hacked, and they are using, the hacker is using illicit pictures of the girl, saying that the girl is available, and she's in a 10th standard, and she's getting mentally disturbed. She's not able to concentrate on her studies. So her mother intervened, and then they started putting pictures of the mother as well. So, it was a very, very scary situation. So I said, I'll do whatever best I can. I generally, work with the large corporates. So I don't do these cases. But since it was, a case which I felt I should support. So I had about 5 or 6 of my ethical hackers who started chatting with the girl. Actually, they were chatting with a hacker. So, and all of this, I'll give you examples of all the attacks that you. So it has 3-4 examples of how we. So we started chatting with the girl, and one boy said that it's a beautiful music file. Please listen to it. Here is my picture. Please see if you like it. Third, send some other file. ऐसे करते करते, luckily for us, the hacker actually started clicking on all the pictures. And उसमें हमने ना codes embed कर दिए थे to track the latitude and the longitude of that particular person. Now, thankfully, what happened was, all the 3 or 4 or 5 clicks took us to the same latitude, longitude. That means it was only one person doing it, or at least one location, right? At least on one location. So then the story doesn't end here, right? It's very interesting. So obviously then we had to bring the cops into picture. So we spoke to the cyber cell. यूपी की बात है ये, यूपी में हुआ था. तो we spoke to the cyber cell. Cyber cell ने फिर ट्रैक किया. ट्रैक करने के बाद it got to know that 10th standard की जो ट्यूशन क्लासेस हैं उसमें से एक बच्चा था. He was doing it, right? Story doesn't end here. बच्चे को काउंसलिंग में डाला गया बिकॉज जुवेनाइल था. पूछा बेटा आपने क्यों किया, why did you do this? He's saying I did it out of jealousy because my parents used to always say that look at that girl, she's getting that sort of marks. आप क्या कर रहे हो, आपको क्यों नहीं आ रहे मार्क्स इतने.
बाप रे.
अब स्टोरी यहाँ एंड नहीं होती है. फिर उसके बाद ऑनलाइन psychological counseling for the parents was recommended for the parents to basically
not to push the child so
much. Now ये देखिए अब इसमें कहाँ क्रिमिनल है, कोई क्रिमिनल नहीं है लेकिन क्राइम हुआ है.
Correct.
Right? And this can start and imagine where all it could have ended. Now इसमें attacks कौन से थे? इसमें phishing attack था, right? इसमें social engineering था. Social engineering मतलब आपसे I'm luring you to give me information. ये सारे type of attacks involved थे. So just to give you an example of how these cases get solved, and बहुत सारे cases solve भी नहीं हो पाते परविंदर.
I think most of them नहीं solve हो पाते.
नहीं हो पाते.
Which is a serious issue right
It's
now.
a very very serious issue.
So tell me, which are the sectors mainly in India which are under attack? The most important sectors.
So I mean, no prizes for guessing, right? Financial sector. Financial services sector is one of the most impacted, and the reason why it is impacted because financial gains वहीं से होते हैं, right? Of course, there are other sectors also. There's technology sector, there is media, there's telecom, manufacturing. अच्छा, motive में ना सिर्फ financial gain motive नहीं होता. To get the services down is also a very big motive. Right? How do I render you unavailable for your market is also one of the objectives. So मैं आपका system कैसे down कर दूँ? Manufacturing में अभी इतने sophisticated systems आ गए हैं. I was interacting with one of the promoters of a large organization who basically make they are into bed sheets, bed covers, printed and well-known brand. Can you imagine, Parminder? They have a belt of close to about worth about 1 kilometer, not in length, but in the roll. There they produce 300 kilometers worth of cloth every day.
Wow.
And 60 kilometers worth of print every day. That's the
size,
production capacity. How many people on that belt? One wild guess.
How many people are there on that belt?
On that belt to man
300 kilometers.
To man it.
Now, basically, if you were asking me now, I'll say a lower number. Otherwise, I would have said higher number. Maybe 50 people.
So only 2.
My God.
Everything else is robotics. Only robotic arms. Everything tuned. Now imagine I go and hack into that robotic industrial arm.
खत्म हो गया, factory बंद हो जाएगी.
मतलब, see, I'm just giving an example कि how important it is for every organization to make sure that their business is up and running and it's not down because of a cyber attack.
God.
And this is a pure cyber attack.
And see, we are so immune to all these things. But tell me one thing, iska matlab, is it true to say that organizations are taking care of this situation? Do they have the bandwidth to do it? Or what are the main gaps in that situation?
So, ek to they have to meet their compliances. It's very important. Depending on whether it's compliance to an external body, it is a compliance to an internal body, it is a compliance to the end customers for customer satisfaction, or to the regulator, depending on which sector they fall in, right? But compliance बहुत ज़रूरी है. Boards of organizations, if you are a large corporate, the boards are questioning. And today boards are asking 3 very, very pertinent questions, Parvinder. The first question they are asking is, how secure are we as an organization? Second is, are we susceptible to an attack? Third is, if we are attacked, how soon can we come out of it without any disruption to my business? ये 3 क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर दीजिए.
But are there gaps in this?
I'll say that a lot of organizations have come a long way. A lot of organizations have realized that they need to mature up. Because अब तो hacker जो है वो 1 या 2 या 4 लोग की टीम नहीं है. It's a proper team which is sitting there and they are running a corporate business of hacking.
No, I was told I would not name the state. In one of the state there is a village. The entire village just learns hacking. And वहाँ पे अगर आप किसी फादर को मिलोगे, बच्चे को मिलोगे, बेटे को मिलोगे, वो सब मिलके भी पूरा गाँव उस पर लगा हुआ है. तो जाके पकड़ोगे किसको?
नहीं, बट वो हैकिंग कम और साइबर क्राइम ज़्यादा है.
साइबर क्राइम या
उसमें हाउ टू, उसमें सोशल इंजीनियरिंग के टेक्निक सिखाए जाते हैं.
करेक्ट.
कि मैं कौन से रीज़न से अच्छा डेमोग्राफिक्स पकड़ा जाता है. जो 18 साल के बच्चे हों, 24 साल के नीचे और 80 साल के ऊपर या 75 साल के ऊपर. बिकॉज ये जो 2 सेगमेंट है ना, दे आर द मोस्ट वल्नरेबल टू गिव इन्फॉर्मेशन. आप और मैं फिर भी ना दें, राइट? सो अभी आजकल वो डिजिटल अरेस्ट का ज़माना चल रहा है. एवरीवेयर देयर इज अ डिजिटल अरेस्ट हैपनिंग. डिजिटल अरेस्ट मतलब आपको कॉल आएगा एंड यू विल गेट द कॉल एंड यू विल बी टोल्ड कि आपके नाम से वारंट निकला है, आपने ये फलाना डिफ़ॉल्ट किया है. द डिफ़ॉल्ट आप सडनली आप सोचने लग जाओगे, यार आई हैव नेवर बीन स्मूथ एवर इन माई लाइफ, नोबडी इज़ परफेक्ट. कहीं ना कहीं कोई गलती करी होगी, कुछ रह गया होगा अनअटेंडेड. अब उसका उन्होंने रिमाइंडर्स भेजे होंगे, मेरे को मिला नहीं होगा, अब वारंट निकाल दिया है, तो मैं क्या करूँ? तो आप अगर आप स्मार्ट हो तो आप बिलीव ना करो तो सर वारंट की कॉपी आपको भेज दें आपके व्हाट्सएप पे, आप देख लीजिए आपके नाम से ही है. एंड इफ़ यू वांट आई कैन पैच यू विद द सीनियर इंस्पेक्टर ऑफ योर एरिया, बिकॉज ये फलाने एरिया में आपको आना है. आके मिलके जाइए, पुलिस स्टेशन में आइए, आप कहीं नहीं जाइए, कम टू द पुलिस स्टेशन. आप घबरा जाओगे, बोले यार पुलिस स्टेशन बुला रहे हैं मेरे को, मैं सीधा सादा इंसान हूँ, आई एम लाइक लॉ अबाइडिंग सिटीजन.
एनीबॉडी विल, कॉमन मैन विल फील वेरी.
फिर वीडियो कॉलिंग होगी. वीडियो कॉलिंग में आपका पुलिस स्टेशन का बैकड्रॉप होगा, सामने बंदा होगा विथ प्रॉपर यूनिफॉर्म, एंड यू विल स्टार्ट बिलीविंग. एंड देन यू विल गेट इनटू, वंस यू स्टार्ट बिलीविंग कि यस ये वारंट सही है, यू विल स्टार्ट नेगोशिएटिंग कि सर प्लीज़ मुझे बचा लीजिए. और करते करते आपके पास लिंक आएगी, आप पैसे दोगे, आपका केस बंद कर दिया जाएगा. एंड दिस इज व्हाट इज डिजिटल अरेस्ट इन टुडेज टाइम विच इज हैपनिंग. सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी 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 ऑफ. और कौन फंसता है इसमें? बच्चे जो हैं या जो सीनियर सिटीजन हैं.
नो, आई जस्ट वांट टू ऐड वन स्टोरी.
हाँ जी बिल्कुल.
मैं आउट ऑफ बॉम्बे था और मेरे फादर मुझे फ़ोन ट्राई कर रहे थे, मेरा फ़ोन लग नहीं रहा था. माई फादर गॉट रियली पैनिक बिकॉज उनको एक कॉल आया कि माई सन हैज़ बीन कॉट ड्रंक ड्राइविंग इन सम प्लेस. एंड माई सन एंड व्हेन माई फादर गॉट मी ऑन द लाइन, तो उन्होंने मुझे बोला तुम कहाँ थे, मैं बहुत देर से तुमको फ़ोन लगा रहा था. और मैंने उनको बोला कि क्या इतना अर्जेंसी क्या है? कहते वो ड्रंक ड्राइविंग में ही इज़ बैंग समबडी एंड you have to, he's asking for 50,000 rupees, so I am thinking of sending that money to him. So I said, did you speak? He said, yes, I was on the phone and he was telling that yeah, इन्होंने मुझे पकड़ लिया, आप दे दो इनको, नहीं तो ये लोग मेरे को. तो and they also mentioned there were 4 friends, लेकिन हमने आपके लड़के से बात की, वो जरा सीधा लग रहा है, तो हम इसको छोड़ रहे हैं. So I immediately took the other phone from my wife. I called up. He was sitting in his grandmother's house, Nani's house, and he was chilling and watching TV.
हाँ.
So my exactly what you're saying, जो senior citizen है ये इसके सबसे बड़े शिकार है.
बिल्कुल.
क्योंकि literally they were ready to pay that money because they heard his voice and they confirmed that it is him speaking. So this is really dangerous. Huh?
Yeah, it's getting more and more sophisticated as time progresses, and I can tell you with artificial intelligence, deepfake, all of these techniques coming in, you'll be surprised that the hacker may not be a human anymore.
No, but I also have to add one point here. Genuinely, if there is somebody who's been called by a government officer and genuinely he feels it is a hacking, so the government has to also take a step where they feel, or the officers should also understand that we are trying to say no because we feel it is it's a threat of hack, rather than they feeling हमने तुमको फोन किया था, तुम आए नहीं ना, और इतना तुमने बोला, अभी we'll be aggressive with you.
तो see, I'll tell you, ये cry wolf वाली situation है.
Correct.
And unfortunately, चाहे कितनी बार भी cry wolf हो, हमने alert रहना continue रखना चाहिए हमें अपने आप को. Second is कि when the government officials genuinely, if it's genuine call, आपको सिर्फ कॉल नहीं आएगा, आपको चिट्ठी आएगी, इंटीमेशन आएगा.
करेक्ट.
द रिकमेंडेशन हियर इज कि अगर आपको इंटीमेशन आता है तो आप डिपार्टमेंट में हर एक चिट्ठी पे एक यूनिक आईडी होता है.
करेक्ट.
रेफरेंस नंबर होता है. वो नंबर लेके आप एक बार कंफर्म कीजिए कि सर ये रेफरेंस नंबर से मुझे लेटर आई है, क्या ये लेटर आपके डिपार्टमेंट ने भेजी है. एज सिंपल एज दैट. इट कुड बी वाटर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ अ म्युनिसिपल काउंसिल टू a court letter because some court cases going on and so on and so forth, or maybe any law enforcement agency that sends you anything, any extreme, I would say.
So I think you were also somewhere involved with the G20. Could you just tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So G20, I had a 4-minute commentary with G20, and this was actually organized by Ministry of IT and Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Home. Ministry of Home Affairs, I4C. So I4C was the organizing body. So there, the conversation was largely around, there were 20 nations, as we know, G20, plus 7 invitee nations. And the concept was, how do we improve the cybersecurity landscape of the globe, or at least across these 29 nations, and various aspects. How do we build a common framework from a court of law perspective? How do we build, a mutual cooperation in terms of sharing intelligence data? If there is an incident which has already happened, how does the cooperation come in from all these countries in terms of support on tools, techniques, my experience sharing with you and collaboration and things like that. And then the treaties, right? I spoke about the treaties in the beginning. So all of these were actually spoken there. And at the same time, it was really, really fantastic because, we had the likes of Interpol and, the other law enforcement agencies, well-known law enforcement agencies, which actually participated. And in addition to that, we also had, the various ministries and the representation from various ministries who essentially spoke about, what is the need of the hour. And all the countries said that we need cyber soldiers because the future of war is going to be cyber, and that's where I started off in the beginning saying that 20 to 30% of the war will be fought on the cyber dimension. Right? So all of these, and then that's a good perspective to actually also visualize that yes, these countries
so
are.
Was there any consensus that was reached there?
Yes, there were consensus, and there was that treaties will be signed. There were consensus of information exchange. There were consensus on data and intelligence exchange. There were consensus on building a global command center from where monitoring of cyber attacks can be done. So if, say, for example, India is getting a continuous attack, which probably India is blocking today, but even before the attack starts, this attack went to Australia. So Australia can share that I got similar attacks.
And this is what we did.
Can you see if you are also experiencing the same? You may be blocking it, but it's just a question of that attack flowing in once, right? So, and then what are the techniques that they applied and how their learning experience can help us, and vice versa.
So that's really amazing, huh? I mean, Akshay, you've been in some very important forums and discussions, I suppose. Any other such big forums you've been part of?
See, I keep. So I'll put it this way, Parminder. There are some classified forums that I've been sharing my thought leadership with.
Okay.
There have been some forums with the government agencies as well. There is the new act on Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which is coming up now. So there also have been little active in terms of sharing our thought process in terms of what could be the key considerations of the act. Given the change now at the ministry level as well, the Ministry of IT has committed that within 100 days they will come up with the delegated legislation, which is the rules of DPDPA, which will impact the end citizens from a privacy standpoint. And what is important for end citizens to know is that without your consent, your data cannot be used by anybody.
No, but now if you see high-profile data breaches are very common.
Yeah.
So how do you say that?
So there are fines if, for example, we know, right? These names are in the public forum, so I can give them, right? Big Basket. Then we had the Aadhaar card details. Then we have some other companies where records were stolen. Zomato had this case.
Correct.
Right? So records were stolen. Now, if there is a breach, there's going to be something called as a data protection board, which is going to be formed, and you will also have a redressal, right? So from a redressal, you can actually make appeals. But tomorrow, Zomato can be fined, or any other organization coming under the DPDPA purview can be fined up to 250 crores.
If the data breaches.
If the data breach is proven that the organization did not have enough cyber controls, security controls, and because of that, and the fines are up to 250 crores independent of the revenue of the organization.
So that was my next question. What are the regulations that the government has?
That's what I was. So this Digital Personal Data Protection Act is going to be first of its kind.
Across the world?
No. Other countries already have it. Singapore has their act. Europe has GDPR. South Africa has their Privacy Act. US has the US California Act, and other acts are there. UK has their own Privacy Act. Australia has one. Philippines has one. India is getting one.
But don't you think we are a little late on this?
Yes, because you have to look at the demography, right? I mean, we are talking about 130 billion, right? So it takes time, and it's not going to be easy. Implementation of this law essentially is going to be a first of its kind, I can tell you. The population size and other things. And without your consent, your information cannot be used.
Yeah, I think just like we insure a car, now the companies will start insuring data breaches.
Yes, they'll start. No, it's already insurance has started.
On data breach?
Cyber insurance, yes. But the only thing is the premium is high, and then the claim settlement ratio may not be as expected because, you have to prove to the insurer that, the data breach essentially in your organization happened under the purview of what you had subscribed, and hence you are staking a claim. But, it's always up for contention. I'll put it that way.
So, some companies, we're talking about companies, some companies have best practices. So you feel that there are some companies which have overtaken the processes which other companies are still waiting. Like, are there some best practices which some companies have adopted?
Yeah. Not only best practices, some organizations are so mature. We call them as unmanned in the graveyard shift. What that means is, जब आप मॉनिटरिंग करते हो साइबर अटैक्स का, जैसे आपने कमांड कंट्रोल सेंटर आप देखिए, फॉर एग्जांपल मुंबई पुलिस का, जहाँ पे सारे कैमरास पूरे ऑल ओवर मुंबई में लगे हुए हैं और एक कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर से मॉनिटर होता है, टीवियाँ लगी होती है, कोई ना कोई वन ऑफ द कॉप इज मॉनिटरिंग क्या एक्टिविटी चल रही है. सेम सेटअप साइबर का भी होता है.
अच्छा.
बट ओनली द डिफरेंस इज दैट you have command and control center, which is essentially not monitoring only CCTV feeds, but they're also monitoring cyber feeds. So उस point of view से जितनी monitoring होती है लोग monitor करते हैं. अब ये सोचिए कि जो midnight shift है, because ये 24/7 मॉनिटरिंग होती है. रात के शिफ्ट में अगर मैं कहूँ कि एक भी इंसान नहीं बैठा है मॉनिटर करने के लिए, सारा कंप्यूटर और आपका पूरा का पूरा सिस्टम्स ही मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं और उसी पे डिसीजन ले रहे हैं, राइट. दैट्स द लेवल ऑफ सोफिस्टिकेशन वी हैव सीन फ्रॉम अ technology company, a good company's perspective, or large corporates.
Really?
Yes. I mean, some companies are super anal about their cyber.
So that means you say that it's a wake-up call for all others who are still lacking?
Yes and no, because organizations, depending on their profile, right, depending on what they want to secure, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that, because of a cyber attack, my brand reputation is not takes a toll. My business doesn't take a toll. I don't get hit on my knuckle by my regulator in case if I am answerable to a regulator. ये सारी चीज़ें अगर cover हो जाती हैं तो then I don't really need to go all out from a security perspective. But of course अगर जहाँ पे situation ऐसी warrant करती है कि भाई one, like for example if you look at any payment company or you look at a card data network company, I mean they can't afford any lapses. Absolutely not. Versus a company which is into manufacturing and more inward, right? Or a business to business transaction ज़्यादा है, go to customer model नहीं है ज़्यादा इतना. They can still afford to, because at the end of the day it's not only security, it is cost and security का balance, right?
Correct. But does manpower play an important role in this?
Yes, it does.
So training of the manpower would be very important.
You've touched a very pertinent point. Awareness levels, and that is where phishing attacks जो मैं आपको बोला था, which you asked me this question कि अक्षय what are the type of phishing attacks. So phishing attack कैसे होता है कि I'll give you another example. चलिए, तो 6 महीने से मेरे वेंडर के इन्वॉइसेस मेरे पास आ रहे हैं and I as an organization are clearing them. 7वें महीने पे वेंडर फिर लिखता है मुझे कि सर आपने मुझे कोई पेमेंट करी नहीं अभी तक. तो यार 6 महीने से तुम इन्वॉइसेस भेज रहे हो
और मैं पेमेंट भी कर रहा हूँ
तो अब ये कहाँ से आ गया ईमेल? कहते हमने तो कोई मेल भेजी नहीं, हमारा कोई टर्न फाइन. फिर मेल्स खोलो, पुरानी मेल्स देखी, दैट वाज अ हैकर. जब पैसा सारा आपने हैकर को दे दिया, वो इनवॉइसेस रेज कर रहा था और इतना लेजिटिमेट ईमेल.
सो द मनी वेंट टू समबडी एल्स.
इतना लेजिटिमेट ईमेल एंड यू आर फिश्ड इनटू इट. सो मच सो कि भाई आपका अकाउंट डिटेल्स आर हार्ड कोडेड विथ माई बैंक. कोई भी कॉर्पोरेट अकाउंट जब खोलते हो और आपका वेंडर पेमेंट करनी है तो आप वेंडर का यू पिक अप दी बैंक डिटेल्स एंड यू रजिस्टर दैट बैंक डिटेल्स विथ योर बैंक, राइट, जहाँ पे रेमिटेंस होनी है और करना है. बैंक ने भी आपको पूछा कि सर आप अभी अकाउंट डिटेल्स चेंज करवा रहे हो? तो हाँ, वो तो हमको वहाँ से आई है तो हमने चेंज करना है. उन्होंने ही बोला है. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल परमिंदर को मैंने पेमेंट करनी है, परमिंदर ने मुझे मेल डाल के बोला कि आप ये अकाउंट में ना भेजें, इसमें भेजें. तो ठीक है, then I have to go with what is.
In this scenario, who's at fault, Akshay?
It is an awareness level issue.
No, but then if this man has not got the money, can he claim it from the company or he cannot anymore?
It's a write-off for them.
It's a write-off for them, for the receiving company.
No, not for the receiving company, for the company who made the payment, because they made the payment erroneously. If proven that it was an error on the part of the company who was making the remittance, then they have to pay to the vendor. That money has to be written off.
My God, that is like a serious thing, huh?
Very serious. And यही phishing attacks है. कहीं कहीं पे तो CFO के मेल आ जाता है कि आई एम ऑन वेकेशन, आस्किंग द फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोलर आप प्लीज़ ये पैसे ये फलाने अकाउंट में ट्रांसफ़र कर देना. अब आप वेकेशन पे तो आप कंफर्म भी नहीं कर सकते हो और आप फ़ोन भी नहीं कर सकते हो CFO को, राइट. बट जब CFO आता है तो आप कहते हो कि आपने मेल जो भेजी थी मैंने पेमेंट कर दी. कहते मैंने तो मेल ही नहीं भेजी है. So that is where it is. So people, जो आपने people aspect पूछा ना, awareness levels of people has to be very very high.
So you have to question everything.
Question and double check, triple check, right? मतलब I would like to tell your viewers, आपकी मदर आपके फादर भी आपको बोलते हैं कि बेटा मेरे को ये पैसे जरा ट्रांसफ़र कर देना ये अकाउंट में. Do not take it on face value. Please call up your parents and ask them, मम्मा पापा आपने ये
मैसेज किया था,
ये आपसे ही आया है, ये आपका ही अकाउंट है. बिकॉज हम क्या होता है, वी डोंट क्वेश्चन आवर पेरेंट्स, राइट. सो बट यू शुड, इन दिस केस आई एम सॉरी, आई एम गोइंग लिटिल अगेंस्ट द ट्रेंड, बट ऑल
you should. My God, that level, huh?
That.
So this is very difficult to handle all this, yeah.
So, merits and demerits of technology, you have everything so convenient at your fingertip. Now, if I have to buy a vegetable, I don't need to, sport for change. 15 रुपए 16 रुपए की सब्जी है और मेरे पास 100 का नोट है, चेंज नहीं है तो मैं भटकूंगा नहीं. I just have to transfer $16, 16.5, 16.75. I can transfer at the click of a button. When the technology is giving you that convenience, so then obviously थोड़ा सा alert रहना जरूरी है.
My God. So basically, the lazy customer is creating a ripple effect in cybersecurity. This is the case, na? If you actually go to the shop and give
Unaware.
them
I would use the word unaware.
Unaware,
yeah.
My God. So how are the young generation seeing this line of business? Are they interested? Are you getting applications? Do people want to be a part of this?
Yes, do get applications. We do essentially have people who want to do internships. There are students, there are universities who are really promoting this. They are giving hands-on experience. We are even trying to incubate courses, professionals like us, into universities so that they are ready for the industry, rather than finishing their course and then coming and getting trained on the job.
But how's the pay in this ethical hacking field and cybersecurity?
So I would say it depends on the skill to skill, but I would say the average starting salaries range anywhere between say 5 to 10 lakhs per annum.
Per annum.
Yeah, and it can go as high as 20-25 lakhs depending on what skills you essentially.
Tell me something. What is the basic course that you or your organization would want to give a start to a wannabe in cybersecurity?
So my recommendation to all the wannabes.
Yeah.
And again, I would like to reiterate, there is no age for wannabes.
ठीक है.
You can be a wannabe at the age of 60 as well, right?
तो क्या उनको courses?
So courses में देखिए, one is, if you want to go on the technology side, then you should learn more on ethical hacking. You should learn about the fundamentals of how networking works, fundamentals of how cloud computing works, fundamentals of looking at how mobile computing and all of those things work, because these are the need of the hour, application security and all of that. People who want to go more on the audit side, or they want to learn more on how to conduct cyber audits, they can look at different courses, which is slightly deviant from technology but focuses more on the process governance, focuses more on policies, procedures, and also risk management. Right? So how do you see cyber as a risk, and how do you apply that risk lens across the board? Right? Those are what I would recommend. And then who want to be managers and who want to basically govern areas, उनके लिए अलग-अलग courses हैं, right? So ISACA है, have CISSP, then you have CEH, OSCP. There are different courses. One can do SANS, SANS is another institute, well-known, renowned institute, global institute, which offers courses around that. And then, of course, today universities are also offering integrated cyber courses.
So, say for example, if I'm a commerce student, or if I'm a science or a art student, how long will this course take? Is it a 1-year course, 2-year course? And if I pass that, how soon can I get a job? Is it that these jobs are available?
So, job-wise, yes, the jobs are available. But again, there is a very, very strong screening on quality.
Okay.
And the quality is not only about understanding the subject, but the quality is also about the drive that you have in you, right? If you want to be in cyber, please forget about a 9-to-5 job. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
It's a full-time job.
It is a passion.
It's a passion.
It's a passion. You have to be driven. 18 till you die attitude, fire in the belly. All these adjectives are less. What more can you really do? Is what, and it's a fast-paced line, and cyber mein, it's not about big or small, it's about fast and slow. So how soon you're able to catch up. If you have that in you, then,
No, why I'm asking
and
you...
there's a shortage of professionals in the country.
Okay, so there's this question which I have, जो मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ. आप कह रहे हैं कि ये फील्ड बहुत ज़रूरी फील्ड है इंडिया के लिए. So what is the scope for the young generation which is doing multiple courses? मतलब मैं स्पेसिफिकली ये पूछना चाह रहा हूँ, कितना अपॉर्चुनिटी है इसमें, क्या सैलरी का ऑप्शन है, और क्या उनको सर्टिफिकेट कोर्सेज करने और कितना टाइम लग सकता है कि ये डोर ओपन हो जाए उनके लिए?
So Parminder, in the initial beginning, I mentioned 37%, increase in terms
cyber
of the attacks, right? Now this is happening year on year. Next year, maybe even higher, right? So obviously the scope is there.
Okay.
Then idea is that, you have the appetite, you essentially have the zeal, you want to get that push. वो सारा है, great. So you've covered 50% of your problem. Now the next 50% is to do your certification courses. Now some certification courses vary between say 0 to 3 months. Some certification courses run for 12 months.
Okay.
If you're going to do something in advanced cyber, some master's degree, then 1.5 to 2 years, depending on what you're doing, right? Now, once you've done that, then you can apply, right? In the meantime, there are so many videos which are available on YouTube of various techniques within cyber, whether you want to get into the technology side of cyber, you want to get into the process side, audit side, or implementation side, right? Depending on what of cyber, because cyber is an ocean. बहुत सारी चीज़ें कर सकते हैं साइबर में, तो आप क्या करना चाहते हो, कैसे करना चाहते हो, वो इम्पोर्टेंट है. अब ये सारा करने के बाद डेफिनेटली, I mean, this is a huge shortage of cyber professionals, good cyber professionals. Yes.
So that means anybody who's really confused about what to do if he comes into cyber, you're saying between 5 and 22 lakh rupees, depending upon the experience, but the starting pay can as good as be 5 lakh rupees.
But you can grow very fast.
You can grow very fast,
right? Sometimes, you come from a different field and you want to take an entry, you take an entry into cyber. And then depending on your appetite to kind of adopt, you can grow it very fast. And that's one. And secondly, this news was in the public forum. Government of India wants to basically, build the shortage of 11 lakh cyber soldiers every year.
My God, and nobody knows they're talking about
11 lakh
unemployment.
Yeah.
लोग अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट की बातें कर रहे हैं, इधर एम्प्लॉयमेंट इतना है कि लोग ही कम है.
So आप में है अगर वो जज्बा, तो आइए, most welcome.
My God, see, this is a very important piece of information. So what we are talking here is there's a need of 11 lakh people plus as per the data of government, and there are companies which are ready to hire. You just do a certification course which is between 3 months and 1 year, and you can look at a start pay which will be anywhere between maybe 4, 5 up to 22 lakh rupees depending upon your appetite.
Absolutely.
But one thing you told me is that this is a 24-hour job. This cannot be a...
You need to have a passion, right? So for example, if you look at, any police officer or any person who's responsible for the defense of the nation, or any chief information security officer of a bank,
correct,
or a large organization.
Yes, should be on toes.
Cyber attacks does not work 9 to 5, no? Cyber attack can happen any time, right? You have to be ready. So that's where it is.
So what are the key practices which everybody should follow according to you?
Key practices from
this cyber attack, getting yourself safeguarded from it. What are the key practices that everybody
absolutely
should follow?
So let's take an example of what we went through in COVID, right? Just to draw parallels. And COVID में क्या था? सबसे पहले infection पता चला. You tested positive or you had the symptoms. What you used to do? You used to isolate yourself.
Correct.
और सबसे पहला काम जैसे साइबर अटैक हुआ, जिस एरिया में अटैक हुआ है आपके एनवायरनमेंट के, उसको आप आइसोलेट कर दीजिए ताकि वो स्प्रेड ना हो. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, उसको ट्रीट कीजिए. उसको ट्रीट करने के टाइम देयर आर वेरियस टेक्निक्स ऑफ ट्रीटिंग, ऑफ कोर्स डिपेंडिंग ऑन क्या प्रॉब्लम है, राइट? अगर कोई मलेशियस फाइल हो गई है, या कोई सर्वर डाउन हो गया है, या कहीं सर्वर में कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ होकर डेटा थेफ्ट हो गया है, तो पहले वो सर्वर को आइसोलेट करके उसको स्टडी कीजिए कि कहाँ से आया है ये ऐसे हवा से तो डेटा जाता नहीं है. किसी ने कोई ट्रिगर किया होगा, या किसी ने कोई लिंक भेजा होगा जिसने किसी ने क्लिक किया है, उसके वजह से डेटा बाहर चला गया, या आपका कोई मलेशियस फाइल चली गई है जिसने डेटा इन्फिल्ट्रेट करके बाहर भेजा है, या कोई वायरस आ गया है मशीन में, या मैलवेयर आ गया है, या कोई रैंसमवेयर आ गया है, इस टाइप की कोई मलेशियस फाइल्स आ गई है. तो उसको पहले आइसोलेट करके ट्रीट किए, उसको पहले क्वारंटीन करके क्लीन कीजिए. वो क्लीन हो गई, फिर उसके बाद देन यू लुक फॉर इंस्टेंसेस ऑफ सिमिलर टाइप इन द एनवायरनमेंट. I'll give you one example of एक नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूट के साथ हुआ था, विदाउट नेमिंग देम. 6 महीने से हैकर ने फाइल्स छोड़ रखी थी और धीरे धीरे करके कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स की कॉपी बाहर जा रही थी, आधार कार्ड डिटेल्स बाहर जा रहे थे, पर्सनल आइडेंटिफाइबल इंफॉर्मेशन बाहर जा रहा था, सैलरी इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफ एम्प्लॉयज बाहर जा रही थी.
ओके.
वो चला गया डार्क वेब या क्लाउड पे. ठीक है जी. अब ऑल ऑफ अ सडन एक दिन कोविड के टाइम था ये, क्रिटिकल सर्वर्स अरेस्ट हो गए, कोई सर्वर नहीं चल रहा है, कोई की एप्लीकेशन नहीं चल रही है. जब जाके देखा तो वो एनक्रिप्ट हुआ पड़ा है. उस पर अलर्ट आ गया कि यू हैव टू पे दिस मच इन बिटकॉइंस एंड विल रिलीज योर सर्वर्स. अब व्हाट डज अ पर्सन से यार मैं नहीं पे करता, मैं सिस्टम फॉर्मेट कर लूँगा, रीबिल्ड कर लूँगा. लेकिन दैट्स नॉट द इम्पैक्ट. इम्पैक्ट ये है कि अगर आपने मुझे पैसे नहीं दिए तो आपका जितना सेंसिटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन है मैं सारा का सारा पब्लिक फोरम में डाल दूंगा और सब पब्लिक फोरम में अनाउंस कर दूंगा. मैं फिर थ्रेड या एक्स जो अभी इनका साइट है वहाँ पे डाल दूंगा, सोशल मीडिया पे डाल दूंगा, फेसबुक पे डाल दूंगा और टैग कर दूंगा. और NBFC है तो मैं रेगुलेटर को टैग कर दूंगा और ये सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन लीक हो गया इनका, बिग न्यूज़ बन जाएगी. नहीं तो आप मुझे इतना पैसा दो और फिर मैं वो इंस्टेंस डिलीट कर दूंगा. तो ये सारे इश्यूज आते हैं.
बट डू कंपनीज पे?
फ्यू डू, फ्यू जिनकी पॉलिसी नहीं हो पे नहीं करते.
बट देन द फ्यू हु डू, व्हाट इज द कंफर्मेशन दैट दे विल नॉट अटैक अगेन?
हाँ, so what they do is they call the bluff of the attacker and they write a very nice letter to SEBI if they are a public listed company, informing them that we have been attacked, data has been breached, we are still assessing the impact of the breach, but we have taken all measures to make sure that the reoccurrences of breaches don't happen, and at the same time we will make sure that future mein. And CERT has to be informed within 6 hours of the time when you've identified a incident. So ये सारी चीज़ें हैं जो one needs to basically take care of, and these are the measures that companies take.
So you also participated in some DD Urdu discussing about social media impact on young. So can you elaborate on that, please? So
this was a news bite. It was I think 1.5 hour. I was with my fellow panelist, and there the topic of discussion was the impact on youth because of the usage of social media. So there, of course, while we have the the pluses of social media, there are a lot of negative impact as well, right? Right from I gave you examples of cyberbullying, sextortion happens largely on social media platforms. Looking at some sort of privacy breaches because today a mother puts pictures of their children without even keeping the privacy settings on. It's a very critical issue. Kidnapping cases in the past have linked to the start of the Napster actually monitoring what's happening, what time does the child go to kindergarten, what time the mother goes and picks him up. वो सारा trend photos के through पता चला.
I think people are crazy about this followers, so they are keeping their profile open.
Right.
And because of that, I think these scammers are getting an idea.
Exactly.
Which is the kid to or the family to be targeted.
Exactly.
So you mean to say that people should keep their phones in privacy mode?
Absolutely. Or if you're going to keep it open, then don't put such pictures.
Family pictures.
Yeah, you have to protect your family, right? And there are dacoits out there, there are Napsters out there, there are people who obviously don't want to see good about you. So from that perspective, you need to be very, very careful, right? And again, that is to my point on awareness that I had spoken, right? See, as an end citizen also, am I aware enough? Not only as an employee of a large company or anything else there. So, वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. So from that perspective, keep your privacy settings on. Every social media, at least the large social media platforms offer privacy settings to the T, and sooner or later this is going to become mandatory through some laws. So for the lesser known social media apps as well. So it is important to have those privacy settings on. The other impact was the substance abuse like drugs, smoke, drinking, parties, that we see, those become a negative influence. So social media, definitely. And then there is something called as the psychological impact, right? Psychological safety. Ultimately, all of this. Say, for example, there is something called as a FOMO, fear of missing out.
Correct.
Today, children, if 10 people have gone for a get together and the 11th wasn't invited, the 11th goes into depression. I mean, today's youth, and this is all happening through social media.
People are checking their followers. They are trying to see whether my followers today have increased or no.
Exactly.
And for that, they are ready to give up on their security.
There are divorce cases happening for various reasons. Again, impact through social media. There are fights happening. There have been some incidents in the past where, an ex-gentleman goes and kills the wife gentleman because somebody liked somebody's wife's pictures and, made some comments and so on and so forth. There were cases in, Gurgaon and Noida and those places where such cases have been reported, right? So that's the negative impact of social media. Positive impact, let's talk about positive impact as well. And there, you have, earlier used to have like a stationary site or a static site where, you were posting pictures people were liking. Now, it's gone to the extent where you can actually run your own business on social media. You have chat windows where you can actually have live conversations. You can have video conversations on the fly. You have smart bots now, which can respond on the fly again, interpret what you're trying to say, also through your pictures. And then, of course, there is a fair amount of cognitive intelligence, which is now being built on social media, so that, if you make search on something, you start getting, various instances. For example, if you search on, I want to basically buy a book on, say I want to pick up a book. I just picked up a book on the 7 Principles of Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? It started throwing up results on other books as well, which will be on similar lines of the thought process of the book, right? So that cognitive intelligence is also built on social media, and social media is doing, it's a great platform today to kind of excel and create your outreach, right? So that is the whole conversation.
So tell me, we have 2 phones. One is an iOS, one is an Android. So is it that iOS is more secure than Android?
Absolutely not. You've heard of Pegasus?
Okay.
It happened on iOS. Okay. It was a touchless attack, purely touchless attack. Obviously, it was, targeted to look at the HNIs and the high-profile politicians and all of those. But I wouldn't say it's a very subjective term, Parvinder, because I may have a Android where I have hardened my Android to the next extent, where my camera is also disabled, for example, versus an Apple, which kind of, the settings have not been applied. By default, settings are being used. Then obviously, it can.
So that thought that we have that Apple is more secure is nothing.
The only difference is when you go to a Google store, for example, there you have to give a declaration that your application is secure enough. Versus when you upload an application for the App Store, Apple would do a security testing themselves.
Correct.
Until the time they are not satisfied, they won't accept it to the App Store. So that's the only difference. But again, as I said, it's very subjective. Broadly, yes, vulnerabilities which have been identified for Android again. But that doesn't mean that there are no vulnerabilities on iOS, right? It's just that, it's very subjective. You can't conclude that iOS is more secure than Android and vice versa.
So if you are a victim of cyber attack, what should you do?
If you're a victim of cyber attacks, sabse pehle to please, inform the cyber cell, lodge a complaint, right? Once you lodge a complaint, then, inform your bank in case if there is a fund sifting. I'm assuming, one of the type of attack is fund sifting. Within 72 hours, there is a chance of getting the money back. Okay. Many times what happens is the transaction may be marked for a transfer, but, the day-end reconciliations are yet to happen. If that is the case, then, there are high chances you're getting the money back. The second is the bank says that, even RBI says that, if the bank's mistake, if proven it's a bank's mistake, then the bank is liable to pay the money back. But if it's an individual mistake because of these awareness issues, which happens most of the times, then the bank is not liable or accountable to pay the money back, but they should put all their effort to get the money back. So what that means is that you need to basically make sure that within 72 hours you do all of this process. And once you complete this process, if the money has even taken 1 or 2 hops, फॉर एग्जाम्पल बैंक X से बैंक Y चला गया पैसा, बैंक Y को भी इंटरसेप्ट किया जा सकता है. वो आपका बैंक X बताएगा कि कहाँ कौन से बैंक को गया है. बट अगर X के बाद 5, 6, 10 हॉप चले गए, कंट्री के बाहर चला गया पैसा, तो देन ऑब्वियसली. एंड सम ऑफ द स्मार्ट साइबर क्रिमिनल्स डोंट keep the money, static.
It keeps moving.
Yeah, the money will keep hopping for, depending on what's the appetite and how many accounts and all of that. The money will just keep hopping.
And
it will be difficult to trace.
Well are our cyber security team in India equipped for this? Are they smart enough?
Yeah, they're very smart. There is a cyber cell which only looks at financial frauds. They have the complete, we call it as a kill chain. पता चल जाता है पैसा कहाँ से कहाँ चला गया है. For example, when you look at AML के time पे, anti-money laundering के time पे, when these systems, we call them as RAFM, risk assessment and fraud management systems, very sophisticated systems to actually track where all the money has gone and what was the last hop. Many times the money starts getting disintegrated. ऐसा $1 million अगर siphon हुआ है, for example, वो जाके 1 million accounts में बैठ जाएगा, for example, hypothetically speaking, और 500,000 accounts में जाके बैठ जाएगा. तो वो $2 will be the
my God,
that's the way it works.
And do you have any example of any big company which was able to prevent itself from cyber attack?
Many.
So like the attack is happening and now they are fighting it out, like it's like a war going on.
So we call this as a red teaming and a blue teaming exercise.
Red and blue. Okay.
Red teaming, blue teaming. Red teaming mein the ethical hackers will only attack the company, and blue teaming mein the ethical hackers will only defend that attack. This is a practice which happens across a lot of organizations.
No, this is when you are doing a dummy thing.
This
right?
is this is simulation.
Yeah,
but this is where the blue teaming comes into picture when there is an actual attack happening from outside, right? And you will block many times. There is something called as a distributed denial of service. That's another type of attack. Distributed denial of service में क्या होता है कि अलग अलग कंट्री से आप अलग अलग पेलोड भेजते हो. पेलोड यानी कि आप हैवी डेटा भेजते हो हाई वॉल्यूम में. तो होता क्या है कि आपका जो कंपनी का जो एज डिवाइसेस हैं, दे आर ओनली रिस्पॉन्डिंग टू दैट डेटा.
करेक्ट.
सो दे बिकम अनअवेलेबल टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू द एक्चुअल लेजिटिमेट टास्क. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं परविंदर से बात कर रहा हूँ और परविंदर मतलब XYZ से बात करना चाह रहे हैं, लेकिन मैं इतना बात कर रहा हूँ परविंदर से, इतना बात कर रहा हूँ कि उनको टाइम ही नहीं मिल रहा है तीसरे बंदे से बात कर. और अब ये डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है, यानी कि मेरे जैसे 100 अक्षय एक साथ परविंदर से बात कर रहे हैं.
And he's handling these 100
तो legitimate तो करेंगे.
Now the 101 is in the.
That is distributed denial.
Are there some companies who have been able to?
Yes, so ISPs जो internet service providers है, they provide something called as a clean pipe services, जो वो distributed denial of service को ISP लेवल पे ही क्लीन अप कर देती है. अगर अर्जेंटीना से का पैकेट आ गया, एक US से आ गया, UK से आ गया, अफ्रीका से आ गया, मिडिल ईस्ट से आ गया, सारे इकट्ठे आ गए और मेरे काम की ही नहीं कोई भी, तो मेरा ISP ड्रॉप कर देगा. मेरे पास आने ही नहीं देगा.
वेरी गुड, दैट्स इंटरेस्टिंग, राइट?
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. और उस पर एक टेक डाउन सर्विसेज भी होते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल www.parvinder.com. अब परविंदर के जगह पे PARRVINDER आ गया. अब वो वहाँ पे परविंदर लॉग्स के बारे में बात करें और सारा का सारा ट्रैफिक वहाँ जा रहा है और एक्चुअल परविंदर की साइट को कोई देख ही नहीं रहा है. तो फिर परविंदर कैन एक्चुअली क्रिएट एन ऑब्जेक्शन एंड गेट PARRVINDER डाउन. So ISPs do this takedown services as well, and there are a lot of companies who do these takedown services.
But actually, this is really the more you're speaking, ऐसा लग रहा है कि although the new generation will be apt to it, but the older generation or the people between 35 and upward, they will find it very difficult to manage their money in the long run. how will they protect their money?
So again, I'll put it this way. One is that, you need to have guidance, constant guidance, and banks do provide those guidance. Please keep in touch with your relationship manager. If you feel that if you find any activity suspicious, do not hesitate to pick up the phone. No question asked in this area to secure your money is a silly question.
Correct.
Every question is legitimate. To whatever extent, however basic it may be, every question is legitimate. So, senior citizens, young children, jinka abhi 18 hua hai and they've got new accounts and now they are super excited to use UPI and all of those. That is something that, I would encourage. Please ask as much as possible. If you have, your friends, relatives, your siblings who are technically savvy, who understand this, lean on them, seek their advice, right? And don't assume you know everything, right? As I said, when you introduced me as expert, I said, I'm not an expert. I'm a student. I want to continue to keep learning. And that approach will always help everyone.
Brilliant.
Right? Will always help everyone. So always be a student because technology is moving so fast. Invest in yourself, right? It's important to invest in yourself, invest in your learnings, invest in your awareness because it will help you in your way of life. It's not like यार मेरी फील्ड नहीं है तो मैं क्यों करूं. आपको directly या indirectly वो impact करेगा और in a positive way. That's the point I would like to say.
Amazing, yeah. Because you know what, I'm only worried about the older generation, and it is the older generation who's saving this money for their future. और वो लोग ही सबसे बड़े रिस्क में. और ये आगे चल के कैसे होगा and how things will pan up, it's very difficult.
परविंदर मैं आपको बताऊं, young. I would say people who just retired saved their money for their, rest of the life.
Yes.
People who have saved money for their daughter's marriage. And I'm not talking about HNIs or even upper middle
basic
class.
Common Indian citizens.
Right. And people who are hovering around the poverty line or a little above the poverty line, right? Imagine after so much of hard work for so many years, your money gets siphoned off in no time. What would be the plight and what would go through that individual, right? And I think what is the need of the hour is to kind of psychologically, even counsel the cyber criminals out of this field because it seems it's easy money for them, right? Taking money from 10 people in a day to the tune of say anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 to 15,000 rupees multiply by 10, they make a lakh and a half. In a day, right? And they're looking at close to about 25-30 lakh rupees a month for a person who's not even educated and learning this art, right? Definitely there is, but then the laws have to be strict. The sections have to be strong. The fines, penalties, imprisonment, whatever it may take, we have to nab these criminals and have to explain that the ending is not good.
I feel, don't you think it's also important that every person should check their bank balance every day? There are a lot of people whom I've spoken that, what's your bank balance? I've never checked for the last 10-12 days. I think checking your bank every day is also a must, I think.
It is a good habit. But as I mentioned, if you are able to segregate your
amounts,
large accounts into different
non-digital,
and then you can still save a lot of time. It's an efficient way. And if you go through any of these aggregator applications, like a Phone Pay or a Paytm or a Razor Pay or whatever it may be, GPay, Amazon Pay, all of them have, if you link your accounts with them, all of them have options of helping you to go through your last 10 statements, 15 statements.
That's true.
तो उस पे देख लीजिए, it is a...
Or also you can check balances on them.
और अभी तो literally I can tell you, I can pick up my phone on one click and one Face ID, I can open my internet banking app. खत्म, effort ही नहीं है, right? And the moment I do that, I'm able to see my balance.
My God.
Right? So I think you've hit the nail on the head, Parvinder, here. Good habits form करना ज़रूरी है. You need
थोड़ा effort लेना भी ज़रूरी है. Don't be too lazy.
Have that discipline.
Correct.
For sure, because the trade-off is convenience.
The trade-off is convenience, correct.
You know?
कौन वो RTGS बनाएगा, बैंक में जाके देगा, जबकि ऑनलाइन हो सकता है. So I have come across a lot of people who will ask me, Parvinder, you can transfer the money online. So I said, we don't have that facility. It's so easy, just add me as a payee. I said, I don't want to add you as a payee because I don't want to have another link in my bank account.
Correct. Absolutely.
So I think that's the right thing.
In fact, मैं आपको बताता हूँ convenience. Another example, very quick 30-second example. I traveled from Mumbai to Manali with family, and I did not carry cash, and that was by design and not by error. Number one. Number two, I gave my cards to my wife, or rather my wallet to my wife. I said, you keep this. Do not give me until unless extremely important. I want to test how far
can I go with the
mobile.
Correct.
And trust me, there were only 2 stores where UPI did not work. And those 2 stores were in one of the major cities. The other the flip side to that is we went to Hemkund Sahib, which is right under the mountain of Manali.
Correct.
Kullu and Manali. And there was no network. Obviously, it was.
That's why it couldn't work. Right?
No. It worked there. So just hear this out.
Oh.
There were Paytm pictures at the Gurdwara, if in case you want to make any offerings. And, rightfully so. And they had the Wi-Fi connection there. So you connect to the Wi-Fi and do the Paytm. There were shops outside, right? It was very cold. It was -1, -2 degrees. They gave me their hotspots. They had BSNL and they had one more network there. So they gave me their hotspots. I connected the hotspots and made the payment through UPI. I still did not use cash.
No, but don't you think that when you take a Wi-Fi from a common area, that is also one of the reasons of hack?
It is. But, I'm just giving an example of the power of UPI, and the digital penetration that the country has witnessed today. Of course, I agree that, you should not connect to stray Wi-Fis, but at the same time, again, it was a matter of convenience.
No, I understand you wanted to check that. But there's another question here. So whenever we go to the airports across the world or in India, they offer free Wi-Fi. Should you connect to that?
There is no problem because most of them are secure enough. They offer very strong wall gardening services.
Okay.
And, all I would say is that just make sure that you're not using your internet banking or anything of that sort on Wi-Fi. Just do your normal browsing, whatever work, emails, etc.
UPI?
Avoid. I would say avoid. Because in most of the airports today, you have your services. If your mobile services, your data on roaming, etc. Even if you go to some of the Class A countries, there are very cheap packages where you can carry your own number, and your number will be as local as being in India.
Correct.
And worst case scenario, take a local SIM card.
That's very, very nice. But I'll tell you something, Akshay. This was a very open subject, grey subject. I think you've told us so much about the dark web. You've told us so much about the Indian defense getting ready for it and the percentage of growth of cyber threats. I think it was really nice of you to come here. We are coming to the end of this podcast. Is there something that you would like to share as a conclusion?
All I would say is that we as citizens have a responsibility for ourselves as well. And when I say responsibility, we also need to contribute back to the society. What that means is that every time you learn something new about, cyber or digital or safeguarding your money, please at least take 10 people and educate them back.
Correct.
And those 10 people, so that the awareness level, see, government is doing their best, banks are doing their best, regulators are doing their best, but the best is yet to come in our country. And this is another method where आपने कोई नई चीज सीखी, आप 10 लोगों को बता दो.
Very true.
Whether it is somebody, your house help, to your relatives, to your family, to your friends, to your colleagues. And don't assume they know about it. Even if they know it's rhetoric, that's fine.
Correct.
That's the message.
Thank you so much, Akshay, for making time to come here.
Thank you so much.
I'm really very happy. And I think the insights that you have given us and everybody who will listen to this podcast, they'll be very, very thankful to you. Let me tell you that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you and all the best with your channel. Thank you so much.